Hello. Hello, welcome to Everyday Ordinary Extraordinary Women. I am Martina and I'm here with Christina. Christina, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So both of us, we are your podcast hosts. And we were inspired to create this podcast after pondering this question. What would the world look like when we can be inspired by every person? Now, usually we are very quick to compare and to judge ourselves and others, like ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody is losing. So depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options. And neither of those options make us feel great. So here's our thought. Someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from first impressions, and we invite you, the listener, to go beyond first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There is inspiration at every corner, in everyone, if we're willing to look. So today we're here with Tracie, and I'm going to let Tracie introduce herself. Sorry, my words are mumbled this morning, this afternoon. It's not even morning. So welcome, Tracie, and just go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much to both of you for having me on. Like I said, I'm so honored to be here and part of this podcast. So I I wanted to start off just by saying, Martina, obviously I know you, Christina, I'm just meeting you today, and I'm so excited about the connections that I'm making because my life is really taking me in a direction that's allowing me to expand even further into the work that I do. Again, I'm just so thrilled to be a part of something like this that's getting the word out to other men and women, and hopefully some young women as well, who could really use some support like this.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Who are you actually?
So I would say I am someone who really loves to help people feel seen and heard, to be appreciated. I love sitting with people as they are exploring their own divinity. I love helping people make paradigm shifts within their life. And I do that through the different modalities that I maneuver in and out within my world. So I am a spiritual channel or a medium, if that's easier for people to understand. I am an animal intuitive. I also work with and on horses. So I do equine body work and energy work. I'm also an equine facilitated coach, which means that I take people through 4 sessions where they work with a horse. It's all groundwork. There's no riding involved. We bring in the emotional agility, where we talk about different emotions and what they mean and what they feel like, because a lot of times there's some overlap in some of the emotions and people are sitting in vulnerability when actually they think they're sitting in fear, when actually they're sitting in vulnerability. And we talk about all the different emotions, and it's incredible the eye-opening experiences that people have in all of the modalities that I work in, and how incredible it is for me to hear and see the light bulb come on in somebody's eyes or hear it in their voice, and helping to bring a little bit of peace in somebody's chaotic life is just amazing. I love it. I love connecting with the spirit world and being the voice for the spirit world or somebody's pet. I also work with wild animals, whales and dolphins, and then fish as well. It doesn't matter. You know, I connect with all in the animal kingdom. I also connect with the elemental kingdom, the fairies, the sprites, the gnomes. I love connecting with the trees and the plants. I also connect with extraterrestrials. I had incidences when I was a child of seeing them. When we were little, we would go outside at night and we would see them hovering over the lake in our area. And I have seen them in above cities as well. And that was kind of my introduction. Little did I know that I would actually be communicating with extraterrestrials and passing along messages and information and healing from those experiences. So again, I think my overall desire is to, again, help people feel seen and heard and appreciated, because I did not have that growing up. I didn't have anyone to talk to about the experiences that I was having, because the family and area that I grew up in, it was not something that was talked about. It was not something that would ever be addressed. So it was not accepted or nurtured. And I spent a lot of days and nights in a lot of anxiety because I had no idea what to do with that information, that energy. And seeing my spirit guides when I was little, playing out in the woods behind the house and spending time with my spirit guides, that was perfectly natural. You know, connecting with the animals, that was perfectly normal to me. You know, going out into the backyard and picking up a bird and taking it around to all the neighbors and showing them this tiny little bird. They thought I was crazy and they just entertained me. And, you know, I had no idea that people didn't do that. So I felt like I was really the black sheep in the family. So I spent many, many years covering that up and shutting that side of me down. And when I started doing some energy medicine work with Donna Eden and taking some of her classes and her program work, it started opening up some very, very shut down places in me. And it's like the garden hose soon turned into a fire hose. And I didn't want to stop it, even though I was getting some pushback from people. And, you know, I've had people call me names and make fun of me and laugh at me in the middle of my workshops. And, you know, I had to keep going. I had to keep going, because going back into the corporate world and trying to fit myself into somebody else's box was no longer an option at all. So the long answer to your short question, that's who I am today.
Thank you. And it's so beautiful, right? Because it brings up first the emotions, which most of us are not really connected to, right? And then what you had to overcome to claim who you are, which is such a gift for every person who does that, right? It's such an honor.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
it
it's such a
frees us.
common theme in this podcast, right? Like, how many of us felt that we didn't fit in and nobody got us, and then we stuffed it down for a while, right? Because, well, clearly I don't fit in, so I shouldn't be like this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through life to really start realizing, like, oh my God, that was my magic and my gift I shut down. Now I have to relearn how to. But it sounds like you had a very better connection with it when you were younger. That it was very, I think for most of us, we shut it down so young that we don't really know it that well. But it seems like it made a bigger impact on you in your formative years,
It
even
did.
though you didn't have anyone to nurture it for you.
Right. And I swear I came into this world remembering my gifts. And that was, looking back now, I'm so incredibly grateful for that, because it, you know, it allowed me to be who I am today and help people the way I do today, which is a form of service that I never would have expected to happen at all. So even though there were, like I said, a lot of dark days, I didn't, I say I wouldn't change anything. You know, if I really sat down and thought about it, there are probably some times here and there that I would love to have changed, but you know, again, it taught me a lot. And so when I sit with people and they're really struggling, I get it, because a lot of times I've been there. I have been in that dark place, in that pain and that sadness and that grief of, you know, having lost moments of time because of the inability to speak my truth or feel safe speaking my truth. So that's, I love creating that safe space for people because, especially today, people just want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged and they want to be seen for who they are.
That's actually the other part of what I wanted to say. It's like it's the fear, right? And the gift of what you went through is what provided you with the insight, or I'm not quite sure what the word is, to hold that for other people, right? To really give them that gift, right? There's no judgment. There's really no judgment. And how beautiful that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Christina, it's we really are finding those everyday, ordinary, extraordinary women. And it's not like extraordinary doesn't mean that you have to be like an extremely well-paid CEO, or that you have, but just like overcoming. I want to say your shit. Excuse my language, but it's really that, right? Overcoming your shit, or embracing everything that you are, right? Your kookiness, your weirdness, your just your next level. I'm it's constant. It's like, oh, there's the next level of weird to embrace. Okay. So Tracie, you said we've met like over a year ago, and for me, really what stood out is when we connected like just a few months back, and that I don't know, I felt like I really got to see you there, and your softness and your strength and your beauty and your willingness is just so beautiful, so beautiful. So again, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thank you.
And so can you finish this sentence for me? If you really knew me, you would know. What would we know about you if we really knew you?
You would know that there's a lot more than meets the eye. You would know that when I'm around people who are comfortable for me, I'm a total chatterbox. Otherwise, I'm a total introvert. You would know that I enjoy bathroom humor. That's, not way out there, but I do enjoy that. And you would know that I hate small talk. It's like nails on a blackboard for me. I want to get down to the nitty gritty of who you are, what makes you tick, what do you love, what, makes you quake in your boots when you have to take a step towards it. I love those kinds of deep conversations and conversations about, what's going on with the earth and the universe and what is out beyond our senses. I love those kinds of conversations. So
Another deep diver, Christina.
Another deep diver.
yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to the club. Yeah. So Tracie, share a funny, silly, or embarrassing story with us today.
Okay. There's one that comes to mind. I was going to a suburb of Chicago for a workshop one weekend, and I was so nervous. I had no idea what to expect. It was on energy work, and it was still kind of new to me. And I was making an effort to start stepping out of my comfort zone. So I got there and I was so nervous. I really was not even in my body. I checked into the hotel. I was going to go for a walk and just calm myself down, get into my body, be in nature. And I walked out and I'm just kind of walking around the property a little bit. I came out of the lobby and there were these orange cones that were set up just off the sidewalk on the grass. So I thought, okay, maybe they're going to be weeding or they just sprayed something. So I have to be mindful of that because I knew how I was not in my body. So I decided to walk down that way, and I was walking on the concrete sidewalk, and I got to one of the cones and I took 2 steps into fresh concrete. So I was mortified. Not only was I so nervous to be in this new place and these new experiences, here I was basically ankle deep in fresh concrete. And so there were guys who were working just a little bit ahead. They did not see me walk into the concrete, and I'm standing there, I'm going, okay, I have 2 options. I can either sneak back into the hotel and pretend they didn't see me, which hopefully they didn't, or I can just go and say, look, this just happened. So I decided I'm just going to go tell them. And I walked up and I said, I'm so sorry, but I just put 2 giant footprints in your brand new concrete. And the guy was so sweet. He's like, no problem. We'll take care of it. He's like, make sure you wash those shoes off sooner than later so that the concrete doesn't harden on them. And he said, there's a hose right over there if you want to wash them off. So, oh my God, I swear I wanted to make myself really small and just like fit myself into one of those holes and disappear.
And how beautiful that you chose not to, and then they got to take care of you.
Yeah.
Like, how lovely. Like, we think it's going to be this huge incident, and it was so the opposite. And I love that. I love that.
It was totally opposite. And, to be completely cared for, I love what you just said, Christina, to be completely cared for in this moment when I was so vulnerable and outside of my comfort zone in so many ways. So, just so afraid to make mistakes and mess up and stuff like that. And that was a huge mistake. And it made a huge mess for somebody else. And they were like, no big deal.
But I'm sure it also made it easier for them to fix it that they knew sooner. So I'm sure, like, they were happy you told them because, all right, we can fix this now, right? And so, yeah, so good. So good.
And the other thing that you were talking about is that, whenever we go into a new situation, even though I imagine you've done tons of courses and classes, whenever we walk into, we are a little apprehensive, a little, And as you said, right, if you don't know the people, then you're a little reserved. I'm right there with you, right? I am. What I do is I become like, I hang out the arrogant, so nobody will approach me, actually. That's what I do. And I'm masterful at it. But I've learned, and I know myself to do that. So I've learned to just be present to it. But yeah, as you said, right, you did what you needed to do to take care of yourself as well, right? Which is so important, so important. So inside of that, like, what fills you up?
Oh my gosh. What fills me up? I would say first and foremost, being out in nature. I love that. What fills me up are great belly laughs. I love laughing with friends. Love spending time with my little toy poodle Jasper. Traveling and everything from, as trite as it may sound, sunsets and sunrises and just being outside at night and seeing the beautiful sky and the stars, that fills me up. I love spending time with people who are just so grateful and appreciative for what they have and where they are, because sometimes I need to be around those people because I forget how incredibly fortunate I am. And it's only because of getting into my head that happens, and I'll convince myself otherwise. So remembering that I am so grateful and fortunate for where I am and everything that I've gone through. So the memories of where I've come from, that fills me up and helps me realize that this place that I am in today is exactly where I need to be.
It's so good. Owning owning that you're in the right place is so powerful. So powerful. Yeah. So talking about powers, what would you say your superpower is?
I would say my superpower is sitting in vulnerability with other people. My superpower is being vulnerable enough to help people feel safe. My superpower is really being in the present moment when I'm in the presence of another human being, an animal, being out in nature and just being with the trees, being with the horses. So I swear one of my superpowers is just connecting with the horses on such deep levels because they're in the present moment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I would say that is my superpower.
So beautiful. So, so beautiful. Being present is one of the biggest gifts we can give
Mhm.
anyone, really, anyone.
And believe me, it's something to practice, something that I practice over and over and over. And there are days where I'm really bad at it.
I was going to say, and there's so many distractions, right?
Yeah.
And now even more that we're carrying our phone, camera, radio, whatever in our pockets, right?
Mhm. Yep.
There's so many distractions, even more so now. And it takes something to just come back to.
Absolutely.
It also requires that you're in your body.
Yes. Yep. Which is, one of the safest places you can be is being in your body and not being checked out, because it's incredible when we're in our bodies, how much more we notice. Colors are brighter, aromas are more powerful. We hear things that we normally wouldn't hear. And it's just incredible. Like Christina, you talking about your experience with your new bed. It's just, it's almost like, being in your body highlights so many things.
It's so true. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, I just received my Opus sound bed, which is an acoustic vibration table you lay on and listen to meditations in. And I've only had it for 2 days, but just it's incredible how much it has like shook loose in my body, like stuff that I didn't even know was tight. I'm feeling, and it's um yeah, it's incredible to just to have that level of awareness that I didn't have before. So yeah, and I'm quite excited to see where it's going to take me on this journey.
Well,
Yeah.
what I think is interesting too about that whole thing about being in your body is that most of the times we're not, right? Like we live like the purpose of our body is to move our head around. And so we're totally disconnected, and the only purpose of our body is literally to move. So our body is subservient to our head, our mind. And it takes a lot to stop, take a
Yeah,
breath.
the brain spends 90% of its energy just righting itself, so keeping us balanced. So laying down is really when you actually like give your brain a chance to actually like do other stuff, then keep you balanced and upright. And so yeah, there's
Mhm.
a lot to that we don't really think about.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I love the work that I do, the channel work with people or the animal communication, because I get totally out of my head. My mind just thankfully gets out of the way so the information can flow through. There's a part of me that's going, why can't I be like that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? I'm working on it, but it's such an incredible feeling to let the mind go quiet and just sit in the background. Oh, so just a quick story. I remember I was doing a gathering, and I had probably about 30 people I was doing this gathering for. And the last person that was receiving a message, the last person of the evening, was a friend of mine. And I was looking at her as I'm delivering the information, and suddenly everything went black. And I didn't faint or anything, but everything just went black. And I don't know how long it was like that, but I remember coming back and thinking, oh, I'm still talking. So there was still a message that was being delivered, even though I completely went somewhere else. Something took over me and just delivered the rest of the message. It was the most fascinating experience. That's only happened to me twice, but it was really cool. It was not scary or unnerving at all. It just felt very natural. But to hear my mind go, oh, I'm still talking was so cool.
It's almost like those movies where they're looking down at themselves, like when they're in those like near death, right? Looking down,
Yeah.
my body doing stuff. I would imagine that's kind of what it would feel like.
So Tracie, this is a longer, like it has different parts, and it might be all answered in one or not, and you might have answered part of it before. But what made you who you are today? Like, what's your biggest lesson, or what took the most courage, or when did you stand up for something that mattered to you?
Oh gosh, that is such a great question. I would say when I started doing Donna Eden's energy medicine course, that was the first time I was in a room full of people who were just like me. They wanted to learn about energy work. They wanted to understand how the body worked. I had no idea what Reiki was at that time, had never heard of it. All I knew was I'm sitting in in this room with all these people who spoke my language. So that moment was the beginning of me stepping away from my old life and having the courage to know that I could do it. And I didn't have to rip the Band-Aid off. I didn't have to come out of the spiritual closet, so to speak, and shout it from the rooftops. I could do it little by little as I was gaining my confidence. So having that moment gave me the springboard that I needed to start building my confidence level around doing the energy work, getting a better idea of what that was and what it felt in me. And then I started practicing with and on friends. And they thought it was the coolest thing. And I'm going, well, please don't tell anyone. This is just between you and me. I don't want anyone to know that I'm doing this. So I think once I realized that I could actually do a lot of good by doing this work, that's when I started to have the courage to speak out more and more and look more into who I was when I was little and bring that connection back to life as an adult, not having any idea what was going to happen or what that was going to look like. But I think taking that moment to explore the energy of who I am was a huge tipping point. It was huge. And again, that gave me the courage to keep going deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole. And I'm so grateful that as I started stepping down the rabbit hole, I swear there was a part of me that went, yep, that's it. I'm going to hit the slide and let's go. So that's what made me who I am today, is that moment of being a child and having that beautiful aspect of what life can really be like, and then remembering that as an adult.
And realizing that you're not alone, right?
Exactly.
I mean, in a way, that's also part of this podcast, right? It's like, you're not alone. You're never alone. We're all cuckoo and we're all silly and we're all brilliant and we're all beautiful. And for you to see you're not alone, and just being in that community gives you like a sense of relief, probably, right? And a
Yeah.
sense of safety.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
Relief and safety for sure. Yep.
So good. So Tracie, tell us about a time you took a chance on love. It doesn't have to be romantic love. It could be passion project. It could be romantic love, but tell us about a time you took a chance on love.
Wow. Okay. I think what's coming to mind is I had just gotten out of a relationship, and I realized at that point that I was in a dead end job. You know, I loved the people that I work with. My boss was amazing, great guy, but I knew that I was not going to go much further than where I was. So I had planned a trip to go out to California to see my sister for a week. And I wanted so badly for a change, any kind of change in my life. And I had always liked to travel, but I realized that when I went away, I always had to come back. I always came back to the life that I was living. It was like Groundhog Day. Every time I came back, I just lived the same life over and over and over. And I'll never forget the day before I was leaving to go visit my sister, I turned to my coworker and I said, you know, I really wish that someone would offer me a place to stay and a job so that I would never have to come back here again. So I flew to California, and I was at a softball game with my sister. She was on a community softball team. So I went to the game, and it was a lot of fun. And we went to a brew pub afterwards. And I just happened to be sitting next to the manager for the city of Sausalito at the time, because he was one of her teammates. And I was telling him my whole sob story about how I hated my life in Connecticut and just wanted to be elsewhere. And he said, well, while you're here, why don't you just apply for an admin job that we have in the planning department? So I was like, I looked at him, I said, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, I mean, what do you have to lose? And I thought, okay. So the next day I called my boss back in Connecticut, and I said, I need you to do me a favor. And he goes, please don't tell me that you got another job. And I said, well, I'm working on it. Can you please fax me my resume? So he did, and I ended up going in for an interview with the head of the planning department while I was there. So, you know, did the interview, wonderful woman, flew back home, didn't really think anything of it. And 3 weeks later, they reached out to me and they said, you got the job if you want it. And my sister said, well, I'm going to be leaving on a 6-week trip. So if you take the job, you can come stay at my place for 6 weeks until you find a place to live. And that was the moment that I finally said, yes, I am going to uproot my life because there's nothing here for me anymore. And I am going to move to California. So I feel like I loved myself enough in that moment to take a huge chance on what the universe was providing me.
How beautiful, right? To just put it out to the universe, and then it's like, oh yeah, here, just apply. And then it all just works out. It
Oh, it did. It was effortless,
those are just the aha moments that you're just like, oh, life can really be this easy?
right?
It can. It surely can be this easy.
Yeah,
And how exciting, right? It's just like everything falling into place just by us speaking, right? Often we don't dare to say it. Like we trip over we trip over the words, and all it takes is say, I wonder, but I really would like that. And then somehow it, if it's for you, if it's meant for you, everything will align. So
absolutely.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Tracie, who or what do you want to be when you grow up? Like if you could be anything or anyone,
I could,
what would you be and why? If there would be no restrictions, no limitations.
okay. Gosh, that is such a great question. Who do I want to be when I grow up? There's a part of me that is saying, well, I don't really want to grow up because that means that, you know, I would have to fit into somebody else's box, and I don't want to do that. But what does that mean? So
Well, this is a you could do anything question. So you could be, you know, grow old and still be young and whatever. Like you're making this up, Tracie. So you
I
could,
love
you
that.
could be not aging, and that could be part of your perfect.
There's a part of me, oh my gosh, that would love to go live in the woods with all of these animals, with all the nature creatures, and just have this amazing connection that goes so beyond what any of us could ever imagine. And then when I was needed, come out of the woods and go to wherever I was needed around the world and do my work, and then go back to that area and rest and rejuvenate, and then go back out into the world and do more healing and more service. And so just have, have this really amazing life where I can be at peace within myself all the time, no matter what is happening around me. That's what I would love to live. That's the life I would love to live. Just go with the flow and not let the little pebbles that come up in light that get stuck in my shoe to sometimes seem so big.
The image that I saw was you 300 years old, totally energized,
Totally.
going into the forest, going
Living in a
out of the forest,
treehouse.
How cool is that,
Yep.
really?
It'd be so cool.
Literally, that's the image that I got. Like you're like 300 years old, but there's like, you don't see that you're old. You're
Yeah.
just alive and filled up and satisfied, happy. I don't know exactly what the word is that is around it. It's just like content, like really solid within yourself. That's the image I got. So yay, yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to work towards. And I love the word that you used, fulfilled. That sums it up perfectly.
Good stuff. So Tracie, if you had a magic wand and could give people any quality, what would you give them and why?
The courage to sit in their vulnerability, because there's so much joy that comes from being vulnerable. Joy, passion, compassion, love, excitement. There's uncertainty. And when you allow yourself to sit in the uncertainty with a sense of vulnerability, then you're more apt to be open to whatever comes your way. And allowing people to know that it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to admit it, to be angry, to be sad, to be in grief, and being that vulnerable to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now. Can you just sit with me for a moment? Or I've had this really exciting thing happen and I want to share it with you, and be so vulnerable about how that makes you feel. So that's what I would wish for people, is a true sense of vulnerability and allowing people to share that side of themselves willingly without having to have any of the worry or concern about what that looks like or feels like to other people.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's so powerful what would be possible, right? Like part of the podcast, like no judgments and no comparison, right? Like what would that provide for people, right? And it's all of that. It's that ability to be vulnerable when you're not judging and comparing, right? And
yeah, exactly.
We also have such a mix up with the world, with the word vulnerability on one hand, and then we live in a world where we're in such straitjackets, right? Because everything needs to look a certain way, right? Rather than this being human is part of everything, right? It's like it's the ugly and the beautiful and the like the whole experience, right? And but I can tell you for myself, like, and I've gotten much better at it, and I think I've gotten to a point where I can really stand in that. But often it is that vulnerability feels like I admire it in other people, but then it can feel as weakness within myself, right? So that's why I'm saying we have such a twist in our minds with regards to vulnerability and what it means, right? And then the straitjacket that I'm going to say society put us in, with regards to always looking good and showing our best selves rather than really living the human experience.
I totally agree with that. And the veterans and first responders that I do equine facilitated coaching with, that's when that word vulnerability comes up. We talk about that, and that's their experience. Vulnerability means weakness. And then after they learn that there's so much more to vulnerability than that shell of a definition, it opens up a whole new world for them. And it gives them the ability to work with people who are in crisis in a completely different way. So it just creates this ripple effect when we can see vulnerability for what it truly is just this beautiful space of knowing that where you are is exactly where you need to be, what you're experiencing, feeling, sensing. It's all there to assist you and to be a part of your growth and your expansion. And I mean, as we know, there are growing pains for sure with expansion. Absolutely. But when we can sit in our vulnerability and reach out to people and say, hey, I need some help with this. I'm having a really hard time handling it. That allows people to feel like they are needed, first of all. And second of all, then they get to be vulnerable too and say, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because this is what I experienced.
And the other thought that popped in my mind, Tracie, is like that it requires some gentleness towards ourselves. Right? We are very quick to, the word that keeps coming is like the drill sergeant, right? We're there with the whip at our back. No, this is the right way to behave. This is the right way to be. This is the right way, rather than it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I just did that. Like you were sharing in the beginning about your silly story, right? It's like you walked into the concrete. It's like, you're just being human. It's okay. Yeah. Right? Rather than, oh, I'm a bad person. I shouldn't have done it. I should have paid more attention. Like all the that we have, that's the ongoing, our ongoing companion, right?
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. What do you want people to remember about you?
I want people to remember that when they experience me, they experience kindness, and they experience patience, and they experience feeling safe. And I want people to remember that there are people in this world who truly care about who you are, how you show up, good, bad, or indifferent, that it's all okay. And I want people to remember that even their ugly bits, they're just as important as their beautiful bits, their good bits, all of it. All of it makes them who they are. So if I can in any way help people feel that every single part of them is important, that's how I hope to be remembered. And someone who made a difference in someone's life, even just one person having made a difference in their life.
I was like, check, you've done that.
Okay, I can go. All right, I'm out. Bye-bye.
Going to my treehouse in the forest.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be remembered as that crazy forest lady. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I'll add that to my list too. There you go.
Oh my God, so good. So good. Tracie, what are you most grateful for?
What am I most grateful for? Sitting here with the two of you and laughing and having a great conversation. I mean, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for the connection and the community and the support that I have in my life that comes from so many different areas. And sometimes I don't even realize the support is there until I find that I'm laughing with a stranger in a store over something so incredibly silly. So I'm so grateful for any kind of connection that brings awareness, joy, expansion. I'm so grateful for the clients that I have in my life, human and animal, off-world, nature, all of it. So there's no way I could say there was just one thing that I was grateful for, because there's just so much. So in a nutshell, there it is.
Love it. I love it. And I agree with you as a person who works with clients, like that's it, watching them grow, and it just fills you up so much to like have one come in and say like, Christina, I've been listening to your meditations every bed at night and it makes such a difference. Or I was in the worst place with my cancer, and just listening to your stuff, I just got, news that there's an end date for my treatment plan. Like you don't realize the difference you make until they come and tell you these little things, and it's just so delicious to know that it's all worth it, right? Like
Yes.
to know that it's making a difference, and people get it, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's so good. It's
It's
so good.
always nice to hear that feedback. I mean,
Yeah.
and like you just said, we don't always get it. So when we do get it, it's really precious.
Yeah. Most of the time we're just trusting that's happening,
Exactly.
which is great, right? We're holding the space. So in some level we know what's happening, but when they give you those little feedbacks, that they're on the right trail and that your work is amazing, you're just like, yes. So
Yep.
Tracie, I think this is the perfect time for you to share with our listeners about your business and how they could get in touch with you if they're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Like I said, I'm a spiritual channel, animal intuitive. I do equine body work and energy work, equine facilitated coaching. The easiest way to get in touch with me is through my website. And that's my name, tracieshannon.com. And there is a contact page there, and you can reach out to me through my website. So
And
yeah.
we will, as usual, we will have a link to Tracie's information with the podcast. So if you didn't write it down right now, you can find it there. And do you have an offer for our listeners today?
I do not have a specific offer at the moment, but I am offering 1 hour sessions for both horse work and the spiritual channeling, the animal intuitive, and then the equine facilitated coaching. That is different. That's 4 sessions. So the offer that I can represent is check out the website, see what works for you, and I would love to talk to anyone if they would like to do. I also do some spiritual coaching. So if people would like to reach out to me about that, I do offer a 30-minute free consultation for spiritual coaching.
Wow, very generous, Tracie. Very generous. I know I will be looking forward to reaching out to Tracie because I want to talk more with my dog. And so I'm so excited. I've done one session with another communicator and it blew my mind. And so I'm ready for the next session with Stella. So Tracie, I will be reaching out to you soon.
Oh, wonderful. I look forward to it.
Yeah. And if you've never communicated with your animals, it's a amazing process, people. I just have to say that.
So, and I will say that what I find really fascinating about working with animals is usually the information that comes through is the animal, whether it's wild or domesticated, it is in your life for a sole purpose. So sometimes we get into some really deep stuff over what the animals are noticing, and it's kind of cool.
I have just a quick little share. I found out that my dog has been in a past life with me, um, in animal form and in human form, and she's been with my boyfriend in it as another animal in this lifetime. So she's a true guide for him in this lifetime, but she's been with both of us, which is really wild. Anyway.
That is so cool. I actually had a client where she had this dog in another lifetime, and she passed away in that lifetime, and the dog actually jumped timelines in order to find her in this physical life.
Yeah, Stella's a pretty powerful healer in our world, and yeah, so I'll have to talk to you more about taking care of our baby.
Definitely.
We are so thankful and honored that you joined us today. It has been a true privilege to talk about so much cool stuff with you, to learn more about your magic, and to celebrate the magic that you bring to us. Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. If you loved our podcast, please leave us a message. Please share with your friends. And as always, remember, you are extraordinary and you rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Martina?
Bye for now. Tracie, you want to say goodbye?
Thank you so much again for having me. I'm so truly grateful for the both of you.